Narayan Mishra, MD and CEO, SEAL HR Services, and Dr. Anupam Guha, Assistant Professor at Ashank Desai Center for Policy Studies, IIT Bombay. Well, coming to you, Mr. Mishra first. Well, what do you make of this statement, first of all, and how it's easier said than done?
Yeah, I fully agree with what Prime Minister Modi has said. We have seen this historically happen again and again whenever disruptions have taken place. Think of our country, India, when computerization happened in public sector banks, there was a huge fear that many people will lose their jobs and the workforce will be rationalized. But what has happened to the banking sector, all of us know that more jobs got created, banking sector increased uh, multiple times, and new jobs got created. Surely the nature of work changed, but people are smart enough and organizations are responsible to train, upskill people to adapt to the new environment, new way of working. I fully agree with this view that AI is a huge disruption, but we as a society we have to adapt. There is no other way, and we will adapt. Historically, human civilization has adapted very well. The nature of job is going to change. We will change.
I will go to Anupam Guha, who is Assistant Professor at Ashank Desai Center for Policy Studies, IIT Bombay. Mr. Desai, I would like to ask you, are the companies not spending enough in skilling because that's a costly affair and they don't want to part with any of the profits they are making?
By the way, you mispronounced my name. It's Guha, not Desai. That's the name of our center. So, if I got your question correct, you're asking me, are the companies doing enough for reskilling? And no, I don't think they are. And I think that even that conversation is a significantly advanced conversation, and we need to have much more basic conversations like, are we investing enough in the sort of education and intellectual culture which would lead to the growth of basic research? I don't think we are addressing that, and we are talking of second or third tier things.
Right. And if you put more things into perspective, Mr. Guha, you think Indian companies, if they have to be at the level where they are competing with the best in the world, they have to reskill. But again, in which sector it is immediately needed?
So again, a friend of mine once quoted Carl Sagan and said that if you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. Essentially, what we are lacking is this understanding that we have to invest at the bottom tier of the pyramid. Essentially, skills our university system and ecosystem which is capable of innovating. What we are trying to do right now is play catch up with existing models, and that is not a prudent strategy, because by the time you would catch up, the existing architectures as well as the existing GPUs would have become obsolete, because um, as as you know, AI is an incredibly fast evolving thing. So instead of trying to play catch up with what are often mistakenly called foundation models, what we should be doing is trying to develop the human resources and the research resources, the research infrastructure, so to speak, having the not just a matter of, say, compute, but rather the sort of an intellectual environment, having the requisite number of labs and universities working on not just AI, but the social implications of AI. And only then are conversations of uh, catching up to other ecosystems or exceeding what we have makes sense. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just saying that it is essential to focus on the basics.
Right, I'll come to Mr. Mishra now. Mr. Mishra, has the advent of AI has made it more immediate, this requirement? Because it has always been there since industrial revolution. Skilling was a very essential necessity. It was a necessity, but Is the advent or coming of AI into almost all services has made it very urgent to demand that reskilling is necessary?
Yeah, I think two things are happening at scale. Um, in the past, we have seen the disruptions which have taken place, they typically impact one particular sector. But today, this kind of disruption is all pervasive. Today, AI is being talked about in our dining table conversations, in our day to day life. People have understood how to deal with maybe very basic level of AI tools, but people have started embracing. And then when it comes to industry, every sector of the industry has got a huge opportunity to deploy these AI tools to transform itself. So the scale itself is very huge at this point in time, and hence the speed at which we need to reskill has to be very high. That's number one. And second, as Mr. Guha was saying, that uh, the speed of evolution of AI technology itself is in itself extremely rapid, and hence the models, the like he used the words called GPU and various such things, they themselves are evolving very fast. So we have to not only upskill our people in the industry as well as in academic institutions at scale, also we have to do it in a very, very agile manner so that as things are changing, we are able to adapt it quickly. And still better, if we are able to, as a country or a group of academic institutes or research institutes, come together to build a model which is ours. Uh, that's probably in the works or in discussions, but this is the kind of scope of this change. So that is enormous, probably more enormous than what industrial revolution did to this world, or maybe similar. So that's the context.
One last question to you, Mr. Guha, before I let the guests go. Do you think that reskilling sometimes there's another catch there that once you reskill your employee, he becomes employable somewhere else? So, is that an inherent fear in the minds of corporates or maybe other companies that once we reskill employee, he can always get a better job? Mr. Guha, you have to unmute yourself.
Apologies. So I was saying that since I work in public policy and sort of I have a bias towards the employee rather than the employer, I would say that, in the story of India's development, the industry has sort of gotten away with having access to essentially cheap labor. If there is a very common phrase in economics textbooks these days called jobless growth, and you all would have heard of it. And the peril, the danger of AI is that it will accelerate existing social inequality. And you don't want an economic ecosystem where the benefits of AI are sort of accentuating that inequality. It's centralizing wealth and power while it is creating a vast army of people who are unemployable. It is in the self interest of the industry to care about the quality of the workforce, because a workforce which is, well, I wouldn't use the word unemployable, but a workforce which loses competitive value would eventually be have to be supported by the state or by our society. You would rather try to create a situation where the benefits of AI, if those benefits be real, are are distributed in a fairer manner. And it's not just a question of distribution, it's a question of changing the way we produce so that our production processes are more equitable as well. Because yes, it is true that the advent of these new technologies are changing how the economic situation works, but it could also lead to a situation of social disruption and of uh, resentment, and certainly no society, no country benefits if if reality makes it so that some people have control of all of it. In fact, it is a danger to the very concept of.
Yes. Yes, that's good, Mr. Guha. So we got all the inputs from our esteemed guests on this important story on AI, which PM also said today in France. It's time for a quick break. On Ashar, we'll come back with more news and updates. Stay tuned to ET Now. Don't go anywhere.
Co-powered by new Kia Ceros. Bookings